Manufacturers have a number of ways that they can report information about the product contents and health information that's associated with their products. Probably the most traditional way is what is now known as the Safety Data Sheet, or SDS report. And prior to recently, this was referred to in the United States as the MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet, but these have been harmonized through a global process, so we now refer to the SDS. But this is typically a report that a manufacturer has, and it's actually a required report for them to produce through the Occupational Health and Safety Administration here in the United States. And on this report, they would have their product contents and certain kinds of health information. Back in about 2012, we started to look at what kind of information would be most useful for manufacturers to provide if what they wanted to help was a designer, an architect, a construction project, a building owner who wanted to look at product selection and specification with an emphasis on health information. And it turns out that while a lot of that information is reported on the safety data sheet, there are certain kinds of information that are not reported, and the format of that particular report is not as conducive for product selection and specification as it might be. So in 2012, we came up with a new initiative called the Health Product Declaration, or HPD. And so this is a specification, it's a format and a set of instructions that manufacturers can use to report product content and health information. The variables that affect the reliability and accuracy of this information are really under the control to some extent of the manufacturer, but are also something that the manufacturer is going to need to work with their supply chain to figure out. The way reporting for products works in our world today, the product content information may not be at the level of specificity that accurate and reliable reporting for health purposes really necessitates. And so the manufacturer has the responsibility to reach back to their suppliers through the supply chain and identify the components of information actually down to the chemical level. Now, if you think about it for a moment, this can be pretty complicated if you just imagine the chair you might be sitting in while you're listening to us talk here. Think about all the different components of that chair. Think about all the different chemicals that are in those components. On a chair, that can explode literally into hundreds of different chemical substances. And so the manufacturer needs to work with their supply chain to identify all of those, and that can take quite a bit of work to get them at an accurate and reliable level of reporting. So oftentimes manufacturers need help in order to do that. And so they may turn to a specialist company, which often we refer to as a third party preparer of the information. And actually we also have another function that we're working on, which is a third party verifier of the information. So let's say a manufacturer wants to produce this report themselves. They're willing to put that time and effort in. And actually, hundreds of manufacturers are doing this right as we're speaking. So they would go to their suppliers and they would request this information, and we have some tools available to them to help them with the reporting of that give the sort of guidance and says, no, that's not the right format for your response, and things like that to help them get the information correct. Once they've done that, they might be able to turn to a third-party verifier and have them kind of check over the information. And in fact, that third-party verifier might check back with the suppliers and make sure that the information is accurately reported. So to facilitate all of this, we have an organization, it's called the Health Product Declaration Collaborative. And what we do is we oversee these processes. We have a standard for the reporting that helps the manufacturers do it accurately and reliably. We have some tools that they can use. There's a tool called the HPD Builder that many of the manufacturers are using. It's an online tool that they can go on and enter their information. And then we have some programs like our third-party program that helps identify qualified third parties that can assist them in both creating and in verifying these reports. So those are some of the dimensions that affect the reliability and accuracy of the data that you'd be seeing in a typical HPD report.